Mira sprinted through the dew-soaked grass, breath whistling in the still night. The violet shadows of Windmere's twilight forest flickered around her. Never quite day, never truly night. She clutched an empty satchel to her chest, her heart pounding harder with every hurried step. Each second counted. The king's fever surged higher with every failed remedy. A thud sounded in the underbrush. Mira froze, pressing herself against the trunk of an ancient willow. Above, something rustled, and two gold eyes blinked down. "Late for the market, little apothecary?" The voice was a soft hoot. Mira exhaled and let herself smile, briefly. "Galen, you nearly frightened me out of my wits." The owl fluttered to her shoulder, his feathers shimmering with hints of silver. "You're the one sneaking out past curfew," Galen whispered, peering down the winding path. "You need a guide, or someone to keep you from eating those blue caps again?" "No blue caps tonight," Mira said, glancing up. "I'm looking for moonberry petals and vine bark. For the king, nothing works, Galen. He just gets weaker." Galen's eyes softened. Maybe it's not the king who's sick. Maybe it's the forest itself. A chill lingered at the base of Mira's spine. "What do you mean?" The owl bobbed his head toward a canopy thick with shadow. "Come. There's something you must see." Reluctantly, Mira followed deeper into the forest. Branches arched overhead in tangled patterns. The air grew thick, humming with unseen life. Then she saw it, woven up the side of a mossy oak, the fabled starlit vine. Its silver buds flickered weakly, each petal trembling as if afraid to bloom. "It's dying," Galen murmured, "and so, I fear, is Windmere." Mira touched the vine's cool stem. "There must be something I can do." A heavy silence fell. Then, from beyond the tangled leaves, a crackling voice spoke. "You'll need a map, and not the kind they sell at market. You'll need a mapmaker who isn't afraid of curses." Mira spun around. Standing at the edge of the gloom was an old man in a wide-brimmed hat, lantern glowing in his hand. Galen's talons tightened on Mira's shoulder. "Well, isn't tonight getting interesting?" In Windmere, destiny never came knocking. It came lurking in the mist, trailing riddles and rumors. And Mira, against all odds, stepped forward to meet it. The mapmaker's lantern bathed the forest path in warm light. Mira shielded her eyes, taking in the stranger. His beard was tangled with scraps of parchment and a compass swung at his belt. "Forgive the interruption," he croaked, "but your owl's right. The vine's connected to us all." Galen fluffed out his chest. "I'm almost always right. Who are you?" The man lowered his lantern, revealing deep scars over a weathered brow. "Harrow. I make maps for people who wander too far, or not far enough." Mira shifted the satchel against her side. "Is it true? Can you lead me to what the vine needs?" Harrow stepped closer, his boots barely making a sound on the moss. "Not lead. Guide you, perhaps. No one truly leads the way through Windmere when magic's involved." Mira bit her lip, determination flaring. "The king's dying. If I can't save him or the vine, Windmere will wither. Please help us." Harrow studied her for a heartbeat. He bent down, pressed a palm to the ground. Silver motes shimmered around his fingers before fading. "3 things can heal the vine: water from the Miraflow, flame from the Mossspire ruins, and a feather from a living memory. Each lies deep in places where even spirits lose their way." Galen shifted uncomfortably. "Haunted rivers, cursed ruins. You know how to pick an adventure." A low, distant howl echoed through the trees. Mira squared her shoulders. "How do we start?" Harrow smiled, a glint in his eye. "With the river. Come dawn, we travel east." They moved in silence to the forest's edge. Mira's mind raced. Was it courage or desperation that pulled her forward? She traced the cool pulse of the starlit vine around her wrist, feeling its fading heartbeat echo in her own. Thunder rolled far away, promising storms but also change. Mira looked at her odd new companions, Harrow with his haunted eyes and Galen, bright and bold. For the first time in days, hope flickered. Night bowed to the rising sun as they pressed onward, 3 shadows among roots and secrets. Windmere's fate depended on them not turning back. The dawn bled gold through the endless twilight, as Mira, Harrow, and Galen lingered on the edge of the wild riverbank. The rushing Miraflow cut through the underworld of trees like liquid crystal, its waters running impossibly clear, reflecting images, not of the present, but of long-lost dreams and futures yet to come. Harrow scanned the currents, unfurling a map inked in runes. "Step carefully," he murmured. "The river'll show you memories you'd rather forget, or futures you don't understand." Galen fluttered to Mira's elbow, his voice barely a breath. "Hold tight. No staring too long in that river, or you'll forget why you came." Mira steeled herself, clutching the dying vine coiled at her wrist. The water called to her, voice like a lullaby. She dipped her hands in, watching visions waver just beneath the surface. A memory of her mother picking herbs in the summer, then a darker vision. The king's heart stopped. Windmere's towers overgrown with thorns, everyone she loved fading away. She jerked back, swaying. "I saw all of it, all at once. The river wants me to let go." Harrow nodded. "All magic wants something. Give it only what you can spare." As Galen scouted ahead, feathery wings skimming the mist, Mira and Harrow picked their way over mossy stones. The river narrowed near a rocky bend. There, a spectral woman glided across the water's face. Her hair spun from fog, her eyes deep wells of regret. "Travelers," she sang, voice neither kind nor cruel, "what will you trade for the river's gift?" Mira stepped up, her heart thundered. "I need water for the Starlit Vine, for the kingdom." The spirit glided closer, her form blurring as the water churned. "A memory for a memory. Show me something cherished, and Miraflow will yield." Mira squeezed her eyes shut. She remembered her mother's lullabies, her laughter in the market. She let one memory slip, a night of warmth, a song hummed against her ear. The river brightened, and a goblet's worth of glimmering water lifted, floating toward her hands. The spirit smiled, fading slowly away. "Your courage is rare, child. Be wary. Sacrifice draws more than blessings." Galen lit on Mira's shoulder. "You did it." Mira blinked back a tear, gripping the water tight. Harrow's map glowed softly, a new path burning eastward toward the haunted Mossspire ruins. Whatever dangers were coming, Mira felt different, emptier, but braver. The journey had truly begun. The Mossspire ruins reared ahead like broken teeth against the eternal dusk, stone towers strangled by vines, and glowing shards of old magic. Mira, Harrow, and Galen crept through high grass as mist clung to the ground, hiding trape roots and secrets alike. Lantern hanging low, Harrow unfolded his rune-marked map, the lines shifting as if alive. "Why here?" Mira whispered, eyeing the crumbling arches. "Why would flames strong enough to heal the vine be hidden in a place like this?" Harrow's voice was grave. "Some say the sorcerers who built Mossspire angered the spirits. Nothing ever burns here except the undying flames of their regrets." Galen's beak clacked. "Let's hope their regrets aren't hungry." They pressed on, stone and root underfoot. The air grew colder, prickling Mira's skin. Suddenly, ghostly lights flickered, faces drifting in and out of view, their mouths whispering half-remembered incantations. Mira clutched her vine and the vial of Miraflow water. A shape stepped forward, a young sorcerer in tattered robes, his features blurred. "What claim do you have here?" His voice echoed, mournful and sharp. Galen eyed him warily. "We seek the flame that never dies." The sorcerer's eyes fixed on Mira. "And what pain will you offer to awaken it? Regret is the only tinder." Mira dug deep. She remembered the first time she'd failed. An old friend, a healer's apprentice, slipping away while Mira fumbled her remedies. The regret burned still, a hollow ache in her chest. She forced herself to speak. "I failed someone I loved. I keep failing to save them all." The sorcerer's figure quivered and then blazed out, a swirling hot ember coiled out of a half-collapsed altar, hovering before Mira. She reached out, palm tingling, and the flame landed softly, pulsing with the rhythm of her memories. The ruined spirits faded, leaving only silence. Mira's knees buckled, but Harrow steadied her gently. "You've got courage, lass, more than most." Mira blinked, steadying her breath, feeling the needle-sharp sting of growth inside. She wasn't just an apothecary anymore. Sorrow and bravery mingled in her bones. They pressed on, prize in hand, the path on Harrow's map pulsing once more. Now only one piece remained, a feather from a living memory. But as they left the ruins, the wind carried whispers. Not all memories want to be found. They traveled north through tangled groves where roots formed arches, and every shadow seemed to watch. Mira's steps grew heavier. The memories she'd traded and the regrets she'd gathered pooled in her chest, but she pressed on, the precious vial of Miraflow water and the undying ember wrapped carefully in her satchel. Galen, usually chatty, had grown quiet. Harrow spoke first, breaking a tension tighter than their path. "Feather from a living memory. Any idea what it means? Owl?" Galen shuffled on Mira's shoulder. "Not a feather from me, not unless you plan to pickle it." He tried for a laugh, but his golden eyes were troubled. A living memory is something alive, someone who carries stories in their blood. Mira hesitated. So, not a person. An ancestor spirit, maybe? Or something older? Harrow paused, looking eastward to where the trees shimmered with blue-green light. No maps for this place. It's the Grove of Reflections. Everything here remembers, but nothing forgets. If there's a living memory, it hides among the spirits. They entered the grove. The very air shimmered with visions. Children's laughter echoing from unseen swings, spectral deer leaping between real tree trunks. Mira's skin tingled as if unseen hands brushed against her arms. A rustle from the boughs above. A bird like none she'd ever seen shimmered into being, a phoenix-shaped shadow made of smoke and moonlight, eyes ancient and knowing. The apparition cocked its head. "Why do you come, mortal child?" Mira stood taller, refusing to let fear show. "To save the vine. All that's left is your feather. Please, I'll pay any price." The bird's eyes glinted with sorrow and warning. "A feather is not freely given. You must earn it, to remember what all Windmere forgets." Mira's throat was dry. "What's that?" "Hope, even when everything's lost." The bird lifted a wing. Mira's old wounds, her failures, swirled around her mind, tempting her to give up. But deep inside, a stubborn ember, something new, refused to let go. She stepped forward, jaw clenched. "We'll never stop hoping. Windmere deserves to be saved." The living memory unfurled its wings, one moon feather floating free, spinning down to Mira's outstretched hand. As she closed her fingers around it, the grove's ghosts whispered approval. Galen let out a triumphant hoot, and even Harrow managed to smile. They had all three tokens. But as they started back, the shadows of something darker shifted. Unseen eyes watched from deeper in the woods, and the starlit vine at Mira's wrist shivered in warning. The hardest trial was yet to come. Night pressed heavy as the trio hurried through the woods, leaving the Grove of Reflections behind. Mira's satchel was now weighted with power. The Mira flow's shimmering water, the undying ember, and the moon feather. The starlit vine wrapped tighter around her wrist, its pulses coming faster, as if sensing hope and fear in equal measure. Twigs snapped up ahead. Harrow paused, motioning them low. In the gloom, ghostly forms emerged. At first, Mira thought them more spirits, but these were shadow shapes with glowing red eyes, swirling with oily magic. Their leader, tall and wreathed in black, bared a row of sharp white teeth. "Careful," Galen whispered, feathers fluffed. "That's the sorcerer Vero. Rumor says he wants the vine for himself." Vero glided forward. His voice was oily smooth. "How brave, Mira the apothecary. And Harrow, the mapmaker who never loses his way. Did you really think the forest would give you what I could not take?" Mira swallowed her fear. "Windmere will fade without the starlit vine. Why do you want it to die?" Vero's eyes flashed. "I want what lies beyond the vine's blessing. To turn prophecy into power. Step aside, give me what you've gathered." Harrow widened his stance, standing with Mira. "You'll get nothing from us." Vero flicked his hand. Shadows snaked along the ground, grabbing Mira's ankles. She fought, clinging to her satchel, but the magic was cold as frostbite. Galen launched himself at Vero, screeching. The sorcerer cursed, hurling a wave of darkness. Mira, desperate, drew on every ounce of hope she'd gathered, her memories, regrets, everything that had led her here. "Let us go," she shouted. The objects in her satchel pulsed with light, water, ember, feather, flaring bright enough to banish the shadows. Vero staggered, momentarily blinded. Harrow pulled Mira free as Galen darted for her shoulder. The sorcerer's snarl lingered in the wind, but the shadows recoiled. Mira's hands shook, but she felt the first true flicker of inner strength. Not all power was shadowed and selfish. Hers burned brighter because it was shared. They ran, hearts pounding, eyes scanning for danger. Another trial survived, but Mira sensed Vero was not done yet. Up ahead, in the starlit gloom, the heart of the vine awaited, and time was running out. The roots of Windmere's oldest tree nodded high above Mira's head, forming an archway lit by the last trembling blooms of the starlit vine. The vine's glow was weak, its silver petals dropping into the moss with every passing minute. Mira, Galen, and Harrow stood before it, battered but undeterred. Harrow looked over the map, its runes now dull and exhausted. "This is it, the heart of the forest. If the vine isn't healed tonight, Windmere's magic will flicker out for good." "This place smells like endings," Galen murmured softly, his usual humor lost. "And beginnings, maybe. Will it hurt?" Mira exhaled, then stepped up to the vine. Its pulse was barely felt under her shaking fingers. 3 tokens. 3 sacrifices, she whispered. Sweat beaded on her brow, the weight of everything she'd lost for this moment pressed down on her. Galen landed next to her, concern in his gaze. Are you ready, Mira? Once you begin, there's no going back. Mira nodded, her voice shaking but certain. We're not here by accident. This is our fate, and I choose hope. She poured the Miraflow water onto the base of the vine. Silver light soaked into the roots, shimmering along the veins. Carefully, Harrow guided Mira to place the undying ember at the heart of the vine. When it touched the bark, orange fire wreathed around the stem, not consuming, but infusing, rekindling dying magic. Last, Mira pressed the moon feather to the highest bloom. The vine shivered, petals falling and reforming with new silver brilliance, as if remembering all Windmere's lost hopes. For the briefest moment, peace washed through the clearing. The vine's light rose high, then sputtered. A wind whipped through the grove, shadows coiled along the ground. Vero surged from the darkness, eyes wild, arms crackling with forbidden magic. You fools! You'll restore the vine only for me to claim it! Harrow stepped in front of Mira. We stand together, we can fend him off. But Mira shook her head, uprooted by sudden clarity. No, this has to end, not just for Windmere, but for him too. The vine flickered between life and death. Mira's biggest test had arrived, not against magic, but against despair itself. As Vero advanced, Mira faced him head-on, hands aglow with the combined hope of Windmere. The time for the final choice had come. The wind howled through the tree-arched glade, swirls of cold air sweeping away every trace of warmth. Mira faced Vero, her hands trembling, her pulse echoing the vine's fragile beat. The magical items glowed now with an urgency that matched her fear. Harrow stood protectively near, while Galen circled overhead, ready to dive at a moment's notice. You don't have to do this, Mira called out, voice cracking in the wind. The vine can heal Windmere for all of us, even you. Vero's cruel laughter split the night. You think your hope can save anyone? Hope is a chain. With the vine's visions, I can rule the future. Mira's grip tightened around the feather. Ruling through fear isn't living. I've seen where that leads. She remembered the river's visions, the kingdom's ruin, the thorns crawling over Windmere's walls, and a new strength rooted in her. I'm not afraid of failing anymore. Vero hurled a bolt of shadow magic straight at Mira. Galen darted through the air, deflecting some of it with his wings, but the blast hit Mira's outstretched arm. Agony lanced through her, but she stayed upright, channeling the sting into resolve. Harrow brandished his lantern, casting protective light, creating a barrier against the next attack. He feeds on pain. Don't give it to him, Mira. Give him what he truly fears. Something in Mira clicked. She held up the moon feather and focused every memory of love, every act of courage, the small kindnesses, the healing, the laughter, the sacrifices. The vine responded, silver light stretching from her heart through the roots and up into the sky itself. Vero recoiled, his magic sputtering. He lunged again, but this time it was as if the very roots of the forest held him back, grasping with ancient power awakened by hope. Mira was certain now. The vine didn't require a conqueror. It needed a guardian with a giving heart. She stepped forward, arm throbbing, and bent before the vine. I give everything I am so Windmere might live. I forgive myself, and I forgive even you, Vero. A shockwave of silver radiated out. Vero screamed, fading as the shadows around him unraveled, dissolving into harmless dusk. For a breathless instant, the grove glowed golden with promise. But the relief was short-lived. The Starlit Vine's final bud hovered on the edge of blooming and dying. Mira had one last choice left, nurture it with all she possessed, risking her life, or hold back and watch her kingdom fade. The moment of ultimate truth waited, just ahead. A heavy silence pressed in. The Starlit Vine glimmered weakly, its last bud quivering, the very air shimmering between hope and despair. Mira knelt before it, battered and exhausted, Galen at her side and Harrow watching close by, both ready to catch her if she collapsed. Above Windmere's sky was a strange blend of night and day, neither breaking nor fading, the kingdom itself holding its breath. Harrow whispered, "Whatever you choose, Mira, you've already done more than anyone else would have dared." Galen blinked at her, loud for once. "You don't have to do it alone, Mira. We're with you." But Mira barely heard them. Every memory surged through her, her mother singing, the friends she'd lost, every doubt and dream that had brought her to this impossible moment. The vine didn't merely want magic, it demanded her heart, full and unguarded, a legacy of hope wakening Windmere's roots. She looked to Galen and Harrow. "I'm terrified," she admitted finally. "But Windmere is more than my fear. It's all of ours. If I do nothing, the kingdom fades, but if I give everything, maybe it will live." Galen, proud as ever, whispered, "Legends grow from endings like this." Mira pressed her hands into the earth at the base of the vine. The water of memory, the ember of regret, and the feather of hope all thrummed together, calling to the forest's deepest magic. She closed her eyes and let herself remember. Not just the pain, but every moment worth saving. Her strength poured out not as sacrifice, but as a gift, her future and all her hope for Windmere becoming one with the vine. Light exploded from her chest, snaking through the vine's roots and up its trembling stalk. The final bud burst open in a rain of silver petals, their brilliance casting away every shadow. Sound returned as Windmere's groves whispered their approval, a chorus of old spirits and new beginnings. Mira felt herself slipping, weak and cold, but inside, something burned brighter than ever, a stubborn, healing wonder. Even as her vision dimmed, she heard Harrow's voice, proud and awestruck. "You did it, Mira. The whole kingdom will remember this." The vine's power flowed out, sweeping beyond the glade, reaching to the bedsides of the dying king, to every fearful villager. Healing began, slow but unstoppable. Yet for Mira, the price was real. Her life was fading like starlight at dawn. But just before darkness claimed her, she felt a gentle touch, a pulse from the vine itself, ancient magic not yet done with her story. The fate of Windmere and Mira hung suspended, as dawn finally crept across the land. Mira floated in darkness, a space between heartbeats where nothing and everything mingled. Whispers swirled around her, gentle and familiar. Her mother's lullabies, Harrow's confidence, Galen's jokes, the voices of countless villagers she'd healed or comforted. Yet, at the center, the presence of the vine pulsed, greater than any voice but woven from all of them. "You gave your heart so others might hope," a chorus of ancestor spirits intoned. "Is that your final wish?" Mira trembled, not with fear, but resolve. "Yes," she whispered. "Let Windmere live. Let my sacrifice inspire others. All I ask is that nobody faces darkness alone." The darkness shifted, filling with billions of silver stars. The vine itself formed a face, old as the forest and young as a sapling. "Your hope was the true magic, Mira. Windmere thrives because of your courage. But hope given freely returns in kind. The kingdom still needs you." A warmth surged through her, fierce and wild. Suddenly, breath returned to her lungs. Mira gasped, awakening on a bed of glowing moss, the vine's blooms curling beside her, strong, luminous, eternal. Galen fluttered to her chest, hooting with joy. "You stubborn miracle!" Galen squawked, pecking a happy circle on her sleeve. "You did it! You brought Windmere back!" Harrow knelt nearby, lantern in hand. Relief and awe shone in his eyes. "The king's already better. The gloom is lifting everywhere. You saved us, Mira." She blinked away tears, gazing at the transformed forest. Starlit petals climbed every branch, and the twilight now sparkled with hope rather than fear. Spirits lingered in peace, no longer mourning but singing. The vine's roots pulsed with new magic through every inch of Windmere. The king himself arrived, regal yet frail, supported by healers. He took Mira's hands. "Windmere owes you its future. Courage like yours cannot fade." Mira smiled shyly. "No one does it alone. Windmere's hope is everyone's to carry." The villagers assembled in the glade, watching the vine blossom brighter with every passing moment, each petal a story, each root a memory of kindness and resilience. Under the vine's starlit boughs, Mira made a quiet vow, to teach others what she had learned, that true strength was not just in sacrifice, but in building hope together. Harrow returned to his quiet mapmaking. Galen's tales grew ever grander, and Mira became Windmere's greatest healer, not because she never faltered, but because she always rose again. As day finally broke over Windmere, the vine's silver petals caught the morning light, each a reminder that the heart of magic was and always would be the courage to hope. The end.